Welcome to Edge Media Source. The Raw Nerve will be starting immediately after our network news.
Brothers Power Sports has been a locally owned family business in Bremerton since 1949. From new and pre-owned motorcycles, ATVs, scooters, boats, and watercraft, to parts and service and apparel. Brothers Power Sports is committed to being your source for all your motorsports needs, and they're a proud sponsor of the Habitat for Humanity of Kitsap County. Brothers Power Sports, 5205 1st Street in Bremerton, and online at brotherspowersports.com. Stop in and feel the difference at Brothers Power Sports in Bremerton.
I'm Barbara Klein. Illinois emergency officials say 3 people are dead in heavy storms and tornadoes, part of an intense storm system sweeping across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. From Chicago, Shannon Heffernan reports tornadoes are confirmed in at least 7 Illinois counties.
A spokesperson for the Emergency Management Association says they are still assessing the damage. There were reports of people trapped in buildings as of early Sunday evening. The hardest hit areas seem to be in central Illinois, but damage spread across the state. Thousands are without power, and many streets are closed. The city of Harvey is about 30 miles outside of Chicago. Sean Howard is the city's spokesperson.
We had 3 apartment buildings which had their roofs literally torn apart from the storm, where the roofs were pretty much on the street when we responded.
Howard says they are currently putting displaced residents in shelters. Rescue operations continue throughout the state. For NPR, I'm Shannon Heffernan.
In Colorado, 2 miners are dead and 20 others injured in an accident today near the town of Ouray. A county spokeswoman says the 2 miners who died were trapped underground. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is intensifying his campaign, criticizing a potential agreement between world powers and Iran over Tehran's nuclear program. As NPR's Emily Harris reports from Jerusalem, Netanyahu says he hopes his lobbying effort will affect any proposed deal.
Netanyahu has been vehemently criticizing a potential agreement between 6 world powers and Iran that would ease some economic sanctions if Iran slows down its nuclear program. In recent days, he and Secretary of State John Kerry exchanged sharp criticism. But Sunday, Netanyahu said even the best of friends can disagree. He added that he hopes Israel's intense lobbying effort will convince countries negotiating with Iran to at least keep economic sanctions in place, if not increase them. French President François Hollande, who is visiting Israel, said he backs Netanyahu's position. U.S. and other world powers continue negotiations with Iran this week. Secretary Kerry, Netanyahu announced, returns to Israel Friday for talks. Emily Harris, NPR News, Jerusalem.
Syrian government troops are continuing an assault on rebel positions near the Lebanese border. They're using airstrikes and artillery fire to dislodge the rebels who've been holding towns along a crucial supply route that links Syria's north and central areas. Philippine President Benigno Aquino today visited some of the areas devastated by Typhoon Haiyan more than a week ago and says he's not leaving. After stopping in the hardest-hit region in Leyte province, Aquino says he decided to stay until he sees more progress in the aid effort. Supplies and relief workers are getting in. In some cases, the heavy air traffic delivering them is causing its own problems. The official death toll has climbed to more than 3,600. This is NPR. Just days after British lawmakers grilled the former head of Britain's cooperative bank about big losses, he's now facing another set of sharp questions. As NPR's Larry Miller reports, the one-time bank chair has been caught on video buying cocaine and crystal meth.
The Mail on Sunday newspaper posted the video. Hidden camera footage shows 63-year-old Paul Flowers in his car discussing the drugs he wanted to buy and counting out the cash before giving it to a companion who then completed the deal.
So if I give you 300, if you can try and get 4, is that all right?
The day after testifying in Parliament, Flowers sent a friend a text reading he now planned to get wasted with friends. Flowers, also a Methodist minister, admits his drug use and says he's seeking treatment. He resigned as chairman of the cooperative bank in May after overseeing its near collapse. The cooperative bank is known as the Ethical Bank. For NPR News, I'm Larry Miller in London.
Novelist Doris Lessing has died. Her early life had a profound effect on her writing. She was born in Persia, now Iran, raised in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, and moved to Britain at the age of 30. Lessing took on European colonialism in Africa, race and feminism, all coming together in her Nobel Prize-winning novel, The Golden Notebook.
The second line of the Golden Notebook is, as far as I can see, everything is cracking up. That is what the Golden Notebook is about. It's not about love affairs between girls and married men, which I was accused of not so long ago. I said, well, I was just describing what I was living.
Lessing died at her home in London. She was 94. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes. Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals, or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties or 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
Bremerton Bar and Grill is your new neighborhood bar and grill. At Bremerton Bar and Grill, they're an American-style, family-friendly restaurant that offers spectacular outdoor dining, happy hours twice a day, 18 draft beers, award-winning menus, and fast, friendly service. Need space for a private party? Reserve the Brad Johnson Private Dining Room and dine in a real bank vault. Bremerton Bar and Grill, 190 Pacific Avenue, right across the street from the ferry terminal in downtown Bremerton.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
The Home Buyers Association of Kitsap County is an association of professional builders, subcontractors, service providers, and purveyors representing the home building industry. For more than 50 years, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County has provided information, education, and services that promote the health and welfare of the home building industry. As leaders of the industry, the Home Builders Association of Kitsap County fosters safe, affordable housing and addresses issues affecting our industry. To find out more, visit them online at kitsap.hba.com.
And welcome to the Raw Nerve on EdgeMediaSource.com. You can give us a call at 253-617-1440. Now here's your host, Susan C.
Thank you, Dennis. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good afternoon. Happy Sunday.
Oh, you're on fire.
Really?
You are. Hot pink flames, like the goddess you are.
You put the pink flames back up.
I did.
I kind of like when he had, there's a background he puts up that's, I say it's an egg.
An egg?
He swears up and down it's
okay, well, I'm putting the background up now, so there, we can have the debate.
Okay, is it up there?
Yep.
Okay, now Dennis.
It is.
Who, by the way, welcome everybody. This is the Raw Nerve, and behind the glass is my good friend Dennis D, making me sound good. How you doing, darling?
Doing fine.
I'm glad. And we had a debate going on before the show, and this is all. It's very high tech. It's all green screen sort of thing, but you see what looks to me to be an egg slowly spinning.
It's not an egg.
You've got the yolk, and you've got the white. You know, the uncooked white around it.
That's very little white.
Dennis says it's a what?
It's a globe.
A globe. He says this is a globe. Okay, I think he's on drugs personally.
It depends on what day of the week you're talking about.
I know, and I never show up without calling first. I know better. But I say it's an egg. It looks like an egg. So then he puts up, now put the planet up.
Oh, yeah, your other one?
Put my planet up. Is that up?
Yes, now you're next to the planet.
Okay. Now this I kind of like, because this is my She-Ra mode. This is, I am the goddess and I rule this planet. And this is Awesome. I like this. I can rule a planet. I can be a benevolent god.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
Yes,
Welcome,
I could.
Welcome to Avatar.
Yeah. Why not? All I need is the tail. Okay.
And about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, but I was just thinking I'm a little bit on the short side for that. But okay, that's all right. Well, welcome everybody. I hope you're having a great week. I really do. A lot better than the folks in the Middle East, Midwest, Middle East. Well, Middle East, yeah, they're not having a good day either. But that's a whole other topic.
Same thing.
Kind of feels like the fires of hell sometimes. I'm sure. Yeah. No, the folks in the Midwest are having a really, really bad day today. I'll tell you, and it's really sad because we're talking. In case you haven't paid any attention, there's 10 states and 53 million people being affected by the severe weather systems going through right now. It's been awful, and it's not over. It's not over because apparently the situation is expected to continue into early Monday. So this could be a very long night for these poor folks.
Yeah.
3 people are confirmed dead at this point, and it's really, really terrible. What they have is a storm. It's several storms. They're really amazed right now because this is really late in the season. Now, I grew up in Kansas, which is Midwest, and you have tornado season, and everyone knows that's spring and fall. Well, we're now getting kind of late in the fall to be worrying about tornadoes and whatnot. But they've had high enough temperatures. They've had temperatures into the 60s and 70s. And a lot of people think you've got to have really warm temperatures, such as, like going into the 80s and whatnot, to support tornado activity or hurricane for that matter. And that's not the case. The 60s and 70s is plenty. And when you have the extra winds that also come in the fall, it's a setup for a great storm, I'll tell you that. It's really pretty scary. But they tell everybody, stay close to where you can get to shelter. If you hear the sirens go off, pay attention. That's the biggest problem they have in the Midwest. It really is. Like I said, I grew up there. I know what the tornado sirens sound like. I know what the green and yellow skies look like when there's tornado season, tornado weather. It's very weird. But I'm telling you, it boggles my brain. And I've seen it. I have seen it. I've stood and watched people do this. The sirens are going off. The winds are whipping. And what are people doing in the Midwest? They're outside on their lawn doing this. Stop. Get your butt in your house. It's not a good thing to do. Really not a good thing to do. And a lot of people think, well, if I don't see a tornado, I'm okay. Or I don't have to worry about a tornado unless I see it. And this is not right. This is not true. This is not true. Because there's such a thing as, they call it a rope tornado. And I call it a yo-yo tornado because you see a hook in the clouds, and then a funnel forms, and then the tail comes down, and it comes down and maybe goes back up, and then comes back down, and maybe goes back up, and it comes down. And it might hit the earth, and it might not hit the earth. The point is you never know. And when it does come down and it hits the earth, it might hit here, go back up, and come down again 15 miles over here. Yeah. So if it is tornado weather, take it seriously. Take it seriously. But I tell you, I'm really worried about these people. I mean, this is unbelievable. They even had the officials at Soldier Field postponing the Bears-Ravens game, cleared the stadium and the field. And these people take their football very, very seriously. I'm trying to imagine what it would take, short of a funnel sitting down on the stadium, for them to say, well, we're going to not do this today. It's got to be pretty bad. It's got to be pretty bad. So if you know anybody in the Midwest, keep your fingers crossed, hope for the best. Spare them a kind thought, I'll tell you tonight, because it could be a very, very, very long night. It's some serious, serious stuff going on back there. 10 states. That's enormous.
That's because they're all small and close together.
Well, Illinois tends to be kind of on the smaller side. Now, I'll tell you something. If there's one thing on the face of the planet I really hate, it's when people who are in a position to smack you down for being naughty then turn around and be naughty themselves, and they're not smacked the same way.
Okay.
Do you follow this? Yes.
Sure.
It annoys me, it irritates me, and it makes me angry.
Smackdown.
Case in point. Thank you for asking. A Kitsap County senior deputy prosecutor will undergo 2 years of court-supervised alcohol treatment for DUI. This is under an agreement with the Pierce County District Court. Okay? Now, this is a Kitsap County senior deputy prosecutor.
Well, at least he did a responsible thing and went to Tacoma and got drunk.
She did it here, but they're trying her. The case went to Pierce County, so they couldn't come back and say favoritism because it's her home court. You know, you can't try people in their home court. I mean, that's hard. Barbara O'Dennis, 42-year-old woman, was driving October 9th on Bond Road up in
up in
Paulsbo area.
Yes.
Paulsbo area, yep. When her van rear-ended a Volvo that had stopped for a car that was turning. So the car stopped, waiting for a car that's turning, and she plows right into it.
My kids live up there. She needs to be hurt.
Yeah, well. A Washington State State Patrol trooper who responded noted that Dennis smelled of alcohol. Isn't it amazing? Her name's Dennis, too.
Yeah.
Last name, first name, I don't know. But she smelled of alcohol, she had watery, bloodshot eyes, and she declined to give a portable breath sample on the scene. But a sample taken to Kitsap County Jail after her arrest showed blood alcohol levels of 0.144 and 0.134. That's more than the 0.08 limit. By a lot.
Yeah, she was tore up.
Apparently, she wouldn't do it in the field because she waited until she got transported and she got booked and her arrest was hoping her alcohol level would go down. And I'm sure it did. So give a thought for a moment. How high was it when she hit the back of that van?
Wow.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. And the kicker of this whole thing, in my eyes, there were 2 3-year-old children riding in her car at the time of the accident.
Oh, so she gets a good parenting award, too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Mama of the year, I'm telling you, grandma or whoever. 2 3-year-old children. Yeah. Now, the Kitsap County Prosecutor's Office referred the case to Pierce County to avoid a conflict of interest, which is what they're supposed to do.
But she was jailed in Kitsap County?
She was initially arrested but then released.
That isn't a book and release?
Yeah, she was charged with driving under the influence. Now, she was charged with a DUI. Get this. In 2007, she was charged by Pierce County prosecutors. The charge was reduced to first-degree negligent driving, an alcohol-related misdemeanor, after Dennis complied with certain court-ordered conditions. Okay? On November 1st, Dennis signed an agreement with the court for deferred prosecution of the October 9th DUI charge, meaning she will participate in treatment in lieu of punishment. Yeah. Now, she has to undergo 2 years of court-approved treatment program for alcoholism. She's required to use an ignition interlock device on her car and must submit to random urinalysis. She will remain on probation for a total of 5 years under the court agreement, which is scheduled to be finalized this last Friday. Now, her attorney, David LaCrosse, had no comment. I'll bet he didn't. Now, she was placed on leave from prosecutor's office the day of the accident, returned to work on November 4th, according to prosecutor Russ Haug. After Dennis's arrest, Haug said she would be dismissed if she were charged with a felony. The DUI charge she faced was a gross misdemeanor. This is the disposition of her legal troubles that I would have hoped she would pursue, according to Haug. A deferred prosecution program is rigorous and requires Dennis to regularly report to the court on her compliance. It gives us a layer of protection and security, Haug said. We have a high degree of confidence that as long as she's right with the court, she's taking care of herself. Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah. Yeah.
That's nonsense.
No. This is bullcrap. Any way you slice it, it is bullcrap. Were this her first offense? Okay, now follow my thinking here. Were this her first offense? I would be the first one to say it's only fair to give her diversion. Put her on a deferment program, get her treatment, blah, 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 blah. I'm all for it. But this is her second offense. Okay? Not only is this her second offense, but this time she had 2 3-year-old children in her car with her at the time. Now, I guarantee you, were this you or I in Kitsap County, we would be talking a whole different set of charges here. Totally different. Apparently, the gremlins are at work. Did you hear that? We're haunted. I'm telling you. But apparently, from what I can find out, they're not even going to charge her with anything with being, driving a car under the influence with children in it, which, as far as I'm concerned, is child endangerment. 2 counts. Think CPS got in on this one? I bet you not.
They're going to leave her alone.
The fact that this is her second offense. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, deferment, and they tell you when you go to court. I've had friends that have been on deferment before. Wasn't that you? No.
I've been on deferment. Okay.
You're not my only friend that's been on deferment before. I've sat in court and listened to it. And they are very, very strongly urging you to understand the fact that this is a one-shot affair. We are giving you this one chance.
Yep, not no more.
Well, apparently not for her.
I guess if you're a prosecutor, it's okay.
That's it. Not for her. Not for her.
So what lesson does this teach you, kids?
Yeah. This is why you go to college, right? This is where your college education that your parents paid for pays off.
They taught you how to successfully bake a quarter into a glass filled with beer.
Yeah. No kidding. And how to get out of, the kind of punishment anybody else would.
And you get a law degree for it.
Yeah. And, I mean, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. If the woman's got a problem, I hope she does get help. I really hope she gets help. But it just burns my biscuits when someone who is in a position to, by God, know better, gets what appears to be, at least on the surface, preferential treatment. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That makes me irritated.
Makes you angry.
It makes me angry.
People wouldn't like you when you're angry.
No. I swell up, I turn green, it's ugly. Yeah. Like anybody's ever been scared of me. Oh, yeah, right. I would actually like to have Hulk powers. I think that would be awesome. Give me a month of that. I'll take care of everybody that's ever ticked me off in my whole freaking life.
Yeah, but your wardrobe would go through hell.
I know, but I want his britches. I want the britches that man wears because they go through anything.
That's true.
Never shred. Everything else pops right off him, but not his britches. Not that, of course.
They shred at the bottom.
Not that I ever look.
The bottoms of the legs.
Yes, not that I ever pay attention or look or anything, but, David Banning's kind of cute.
Oh, whatever.
Stop.
Just because he gets bigger doesn't mean his junk gets bigger.
I'll bet it does. I'm not going there. Don't drag me there. No, I'm not going there. But
we went to the gutter, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll bet it does. Yes, it does. Now, in a more positive note for Kitsap County, because of this last story with the prosecutor, the deputy or DA prosecutor. Senior gal. Bad. This one is a little bit more upbeat, and I really was tickled to hear it. You might have read in the Kitsap Sun today, they had an article that was talking about when Mark Potter's heart suddenly stopped beating outside his Hansville home last April, his 14-year-old daughter knew exactly what to do. Just 10 days earlier, the 9th grader had watched firefighters demonstrate CPR in her Kingston High School health class. It was so fresh in my mind, she said. Now, her mom, Susie Schultz Potter, said the girl took charge, barking orders to her 20-year-old brother, Zachary, who had also been trained in CPR in both health and athletic medicine classes at the high school. Working together, the two performed CPR until EMTs took over. It took 3 shots from an automated external defibrillator, an AED, and another round of CPR before Potter's heart started beating again, and he was transported to Bremerton's Harrison Medical Center. 10 days later, the 53-year-old contractor walked out of the hospital with no long-term damage and no memory of the traumatic event. He went back to work 6 weeks later and now wears a pacemaker defibrillator to maintain his heart's rhythm. I'm sure it's an internal.
Yeah.
Internal defibrillator. But if you think about it, it's amazing. But what is incredible to me is it says Potter's case illustrates several of the reasons that Kitsap County's cardiac arrest survival rates are above the state and nation's averages. High rates of bystander CPR, widely available AEDs, and well-trained emergency medical personnel and state-of-the-art hospital care. We have the 4 biggies right here in Little Oak, Kitsap County. And if you're going to have a heart attack, this is a place to do it.
If you have mental issues, this isn't the place to do it.
That's a whole nother show. Trust me on this. That's a whole nother show. Now, in 2012, there were 143 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests in Kitsap County. Now, that data is collected by the National Cardiac Arrest Registry to Enhance Survival, called CARES. And it puts the overall survival rate in Kitsap County at 18.9%, almost twice the national average of 10%. The statewide survival rate was 14.4%, so we're even well above that. We're cooking pretty good here, I'm telling you. Now, survival rates are much higher for the subset of cardiac arrest where the heart is in a rhythm most likely to respond to shock or defibrillation. And Kitsap County survival rates were also impressive in that category. 41% compared to 38.6% statewide and 31.7% nationally. Now, it's really amazing. And this is true. I have noticed so many places I go in Kitsap County, you'll see a sign up saying, we have an AED. They have an automatic electronic defibrillator. Excuse me. And these things are absolutely incredible works of technology. A person goes down. There are very clear cut. Now, I used to be an EMT in this county. I've seen the defibrillator. I was a defibrillator tech certified, and the one we use was a lot more complicated. This one is so simple. It's It's like defibrillation for dummies. It tells you, put the pads on here, push this button. It reads the electrical activity of the heart itself. It does not depend on you to tell it what it's doing. And even if you push the button to give a shock, if a shock is not warranted, it will not do so.
Wow.
But it will tell you, administer shock now, if it is necessary.
Because everyone, has been in the emergency room and wanted to relive that moment. Clear!
Oh, yeah. What was that? Emergency?
Emergency.
Uh-huh.
Every week.
Every week. Excuse me. But the amazing thing to me, for an example, Gold Mountain Golf Club, not far from my house.
Gold Mountain Golf Course, yes.
Yep. General Manager Daryl Matheny experienced the benefits of this last spring when he shocked male golfers back to consciousness on 2 separate occasions with an AED defibrillator. Twice. So at the golf course, they had 2 gentlemen go down. He used the defibrillator on them both, and they both recovered. It's amazing. And that was in a 2.5-week period. So I'm like, that must be a rough golf course. I'll tell you, that's really a lot of exertion with that golf course, apparently. But that is just mind-boggling, these kinds of statistics. You don't have this other parts of the country. Now, what kind of amazes me, and I'm going to look into this because I'm just curious. CPR nowadays is done without rescue breathing. It used to be you do 10 compressions, 2 breaths, 10 compressions, 2 breaths.
Now it's just compressions?
Now it's just compressions. There's no rescue breathing. And the part of my brain that went through EMT training and nursing school and all the things that I've learned says, what's the good of pushing blood around the body if there's no oxygen in it to help the brain, And I'm going to look into it and find out how this is and why and what the rules are on it now. And I will get back to you in a future show on this because I'm curious. But apparently now you just do compressions. You do 100 compressions a minute, which is basically like 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, about like that. You push in till you see the chest really go down, and then raise your hands completely off so that chest wall has a chance to completely recoil. And it's amazing. And they're saying it's saving people's lives all over. But the amazing thing is, because there is no rescue breathing, that has opened the door for your coworkers, people on the street, bosses, stuff like this, to not feel so hesitant to step in and do CPR on you. Because people were afraid, a large portion of the population was afraid to do CPR because of the rescue breathing. Because they didn't want to put their mouth on somebody else's mouth, who knows what diseases they have or whatever. And if you took CPR from an instructor who would tell you the truth, very, very often when you do CPR on somebody, if you do it right, that person will throw up. Yes.
Yucky.
I have seen it. It is true. It is true. So if you think about it, it's really amazing. People are willing in this county to step forward, help you out. And I'll look into this and I'll bring it back on another show. Going to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. I'll be back in just a couple. Hang in there with me. It's The Raw Nerve.
I can feel you breathe.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals, or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
Hey, sports fans, have you ever wished there was a live and local all-sports broadcasting network, but wish no more? It's ISBNsports.com, Kitsap's only live and local all-sports 24-hour broadcasting network, featuring the Kitsap Blue Jackets, the Olympic College Rangers, high school athletics, and the ISBN Sports Show every Saturday morning from 10 to noon with interviews from exclusive guests from around the Sound. So, you want sports? Go to ISBNsports.com.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties or 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
Bremerton Bar and Grill is your new neighborhood bar and grill. At Bremerton Bar and Grill, they're an American-style, family-friendly restaurant that offers spectacular outdoor dining, happy hours twice a day, 18 draft beers, award-winning menus, and fast, friendly service. Need space for a private party? Reserve the Brad Johnson Private Dining Room and dine in a real bank vault. Bremerton Bar and Grill, 190 Pacific Avenue, right across the street from the ferry terminal in downtown Bremerton. Cliff Cycle Center is an authorized full-service dealership that markets Kawasaki, KTM, Suzuki, Aprilia, Vespa, Piaggio, and Kymco scooters. At Cliff Cycle Center, you'll also find Kawasaki and Yamaha personal watercraft and Kawasaki, Polaris, and Suzuki all-terrain vehicles. At Cliff Cycle Center, they invite you to come on down and have a cup of coffee on them. They'd love to meet you at Cliff Cycle Center, 1200 Charleston Beach Road, across from the shipyard. Cliff Cycle Center.
Welcome back to the Raw Nerve on EdgeMediaSource.com. You can call into the show at 253-617-1440. Now, back to your host, Susan C.
Thanks, Dennis. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Now, this is a story that I read it, and it's not like I didn't believe it, but it left me shaking my head going, are they kidding me? Are they kidding me? Yeah, I believe it, but I don't want to. That sort of a thing. Now, 1944. 1944. It sounds like a long time ago.
That was a little while ago.
Sounds like it's almost 70 years ago. And you're like, wow, that was a long time ago. Times were different. People were different. But you know what? We weren't barbarians. We weren't cave people.
No, but it was a different time.
Yeah, but we were fighting World War II. We were working on the atomic bomb. We had science. We had people of intelligence. And yet, the 95-pound boy wore stripes as the sheriffs walked him to the electric chair, set him on books to prop him up tall enough, and electrocuted him in June of 1944.
That's not very nice.
Wow. Yeah. Nearly 70 years after the execution of 14-year-old George Junius Denny Jr. for the killing of 2 white girls, advocates have taken the unprecedented step of asking a South Carolina court to grant a new trial to clear his name. Now, Stinney is often cited as the youngest person executed in this country in the 20th century. For years, family advocates and lawyers have said that South Carolina had put an innocent boy to death. We just want what is right, said Ray Brown, filmmaker who's writing a script based on Stinney's story, and recently joined the efforts to persuade the state to grant a new trial. Now, the effort stems from the brutal slaying of Betty June Binnicker, 11-year-old girl, and Mary Emma Thames, an 8-year-old girl, in the spring of 1944. Stinney and a younger sister were the last witnesses known to have seen the girls alive. Police in Alcoa, South Carolina, arrested Stinney the day the girls were found, and an all-white jury convicted him on a basis of what police described as a confession. Less than 3 months after the crime, Stinney went to the chair. Less than 3 months. Yeah. We want them to consider the possibility that he was wrongfully convicted and executed for something he did not do, said Brown, who describes the case as a symbol of our history's deep racial injustices. You have to correct these kind of things if you ever expect a change. The request for a new trial is a culmination of a lengthy investigation started years ago by local historian George Frierson, whose work brought attention to what he calls the barbaric death of a child. Now, this was a courthouse lynching, according to him. I want his name cleared, and I want an apology from the state of South Carolina for putting a child to death. Stinney's execution was legal at the time in South Carolina, where 14 was the age of criminal responsibility. In 2005, pretty recently here, that's when the U.S. abolished execution of children under 18. Really? Not until 2005. Now, Brown followed in Frierson's footsteps, beginning his own investigation, as well as petitioning Governor Nikki Haley for a pardon. The motion for a new trial marks a shift in strategy to correct what advocates say is a grave wrong. After numerous disappointments, blind alleys, and dead ends, we believe we now have sufficient evidence to support a motion to seek judicial review of George Stinney Jr.'s trial. This is according to local attorney Ray E. Chandler. Now, the governor's office did not respond to a request for comment at this time. The quest for a new trial faces several legal hurdles. South Carolina law allows a defendant to ask for a retrial if new evidence is uncovered, but it requires a motion to be filed within a year of the discovery. Attorneys in Stinney's cases have based their request on affidavits from two of his siblings who provide an alibi for him at the time. The filing states that the affidavits taken in 2009 constitute new evidence because the family's fear at the time prevented them from speaking out and telling the truth. I wish I could have come forward much sooner, said Charles Stinney, George's brother, who is now in his 80s. George's conviction and execution were something my family believed could happen to any of us in the family. Therefore, we made the decision for the safety of the family to leave it be. It also attributes to delays in requesting a retrial to efforts to obtain a statement from another witness who eventually refused to come forward, citing fear of the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah. And they're still around. Don't kid yourself. You have to explain why you couldn't have presented the evidence before. That's a big problem, according to Kenneth Gaines, professor at the University of South Carolina School of Law. It's probably a long shot, but I give him credit for trying. 30 days after the murders, George Stinney stood trial in Clarendon County. Some 1,500 people packed the small courtroom to watch, news reports said at the time. Prosecutors presented two conflicting statements made by Stinney. One that he had killed the girls in self-defense, and the other that he had chased the girls into the woods and attacked them. Now, no records remain of either confession. The boy's court-appointed attorney did not present a defense. Did you get that? The boy's court-appointed attorney did not present a defense.
Of course.
In a death penalty trial. Really?
Yeah, back then it's not going to happen.
10 minutes after retiring to deliberate, the jury declared Stinney guilty of murder. Soon after, a judge signed his death sentence. Now, on June 16, 1944, 4 months shy of his 15th birthday, the state of South Carolina executed Stinney. Reporters present at his death noted that the executioners had difficulty strapping the electrodes to the boy's small frame. They set him on a book to prop him up high enough to take his life. Stinney's attorney, a tax commissioner with political ambitions but no trial experience, failed to file a notice of appeal. His attorney was a tax commissioner. A tax commissioner. With no trial experience. Yeah. His failure to file a notice of appeal would have at least delayed the boy's execution. Several local churches in the NAACP petitioned then Governor Olin Johnson to stop the execution. He declined. The Stinnies were forced to stand by as the state put their son to death. My parents were simply helpless to do anything about it, said Charles Stinney in his affidavit. They had no money. The law was against them, and they were black in the American South in 1944. Now, we have today, in our more modern age, men sitting on death row, sentenced to execution, whose execution is held up and delayed for ages because they're afraid they might feel something kind of painful associated with it. Really. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? They could put a 14-year-old baby, and I'm sorry, 14 years old, you're still a baby. My 13-year-old grandson would not agree with that, but it's true. I mean, I read this, and I'm like, 10 minutes after deliberating, they found him guilty?
But at that time, the world was, not very racially conscious.
Oh, yeah.
We were racist as all get out back then.
Especially in South Carolina. Yes, I know, believe me. But I got to tell you, if there's any question about bringing a retrial of this particular case this many years later, at the very least, the governor should posthumously clear his name. Because I'll tell you, we'll never know if he did it or not. We will never know.
No, but you know what?
The chance was never out there.
If nothing else, it can bring up awareness of all the injustices that have taken place.
And it should. It should.
It really needs to come out. And, yeah, they need to come out and show that, you know what? Yeah, people made, for a lack of better term, piss poor calls back then.
People were scared.
Yes.
And people today don't understand, to a large degree, what that was like. They really, really don't. You have people who are, and were back then, afraid to come forward and say, hey, I was a witness. I saw this. I know this person didn't do this. Or even come out and say, this person did do this. Because you had the Klan. And the Klan would show up in the middle of the night and you disappeared and you were found hanging from a tree the next morning.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you.
Now they're just all politicians.
Well, under those white sheets, there were judges. And there were attorneys.
And attorneys
and doctors,
policemen and
politicians.
Everything.
Everyone was under those white sheets, I'm telling you. And it just... I'm not saying it wasn't a horrible thing that happened to these poor little girls. It was. God knows it absolutely was. But I'll tell you something. In a case where the truth will never, ever, ever be known at this point, I say err on the side of caution. Give this kid, clear his name at least. Clear his name at least. I read that and I'm like, are you kidding me? They actually strapped a 14-year-old baby into that chair.
Yeah.
And fried him. No. And this is, I'll tell you, if you watch his show, listen to it, you'll know that I am actually a proponent of the death penalty in certain cases. I think there are certain individuals out there, Gary.
Pull the switch.
Gary Ridgway pops to mind. There are people who absolutely, I think the death penalty was made for. Not everybody who kills somebody, I think, should get the death penalty. But I want to make this very clear. I don't think one more human being should be executed by the state. I don't care what state it is. Texas, are you listening? I don't care what state it is until there's a major, major overhaul in the way it's done.
Well, Texas doesn't believe it's a state anyway. They think they're their own country.
Apparently. No, actually, I've been to Texas. I've spent quite a bit of time in Texas. And Texans are nice people. They are really nice people. But I'll tell you, they really do buy the whole Texas is larger than life.
Yeah?
They really do buy into that whole image. So whatever they do is right.
Uh-huh.
Because they're too big to fail.
That's why the joke about finding Texas has still stayed true.
What?
You ever heard it?
No.
You know how to find Texas, right?
On a map?
No. You walk east till you smell crap. Then you walk south till you step in it.
Okay.
It's crap.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Good food down there, though.
My problem with Texas is their state bird is a flying cockroach. But aside from that, but
Alaska has a mosquito already.
yeah, I'm just saying. My little old opinion here. Cut the family a break. Cut them some slack, because absolutely nobody else, by God, did. Nobody.
Do it, because too much stuff went unpunished back then.
Yeah.
That was done wrongly by politicians, police, the Klan. Yeah, I am glad that I've come up in the time that I have now.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of having to be, born back then.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's not just because of running water technology either.
Although that doesn't hurt.
No.
Hey, I'm a big fan of penicillin. Okay. Yeah.
I'm allergic to it, so I'm not.
Well, I am too, but because of penicillin,
Yeah.
they came up with the better stuff that we can take. But the bottom line of it is, I didn't want to live back at a time when there wasn't antibiotics. Okay. But we've come a long way. We really have. And let's just, show a little mercy to a kid's spirit. His memory.
Exactly.
His memory and his name. Do it. And speaking of things we're done wrongly. A New Mexico man, I could not believe this. A New Mexico man has filed a federal lawsuit, and oh my God, I hope he wins, claiming he was subjected to more than 12 hours of anal probing by police officers and medical professionals after a traffic stop in January. Now, KOBT-TV out of New Mexico reports that police stopped David Eckert on January 2nd after he failed to come to a complete stop at a stop sign outside a Walmart parking lot in Deming, New Mexico. So get it, the guy, that's all he did. That is all he did. He failed to come to a complete stop. He did a California rolling stop. You ever done that? Hello? Yeah?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Now, they say, it says, things began to go wrong when the authorities asked him to exit his vehicle. They say that when he stepped out of his car, he was standing in a manner that looked as if he were clenching his buttocks. I often look at people and wonder if they're clenching their buttocks or prancercising or whatever the hell is going through my mind. Are you out of your mind? This is according to Shannon Kennedy, Eckert's attorney. Now, this led to police to believe that Eckert was hiding drugs in his anal cavity. After obtaining a search warrant, and I'd love to have seen that, the writing on that, the particulars on that search warrant, from a judge allowing for an anal cavity search, cops took Eckert to an emergency room in Deming, but a doctor there refused to perform the search, calling it unethical, according to the news station. Eventually, police moved Eckert to Gila Regional Medical Center in Silver City, where doctors agreed to perform the anal cavity search. According to the lawsuit and Eckert's medical records, which were released to KOB, Eckert's abdominal area was x-rayed twice. Doctors performed a colonoscopy on him. An enema was inserted anally 3 separate times, and doctors examined his anus twice with their fingers. No drugs were ever found.
Poor guy.
I know. My heart just bleeds for him.
Wow.
No drugs were ever found, and Eckert never gave his consent for doctors to perform any of these procedures.
Okay. Poor guy.
I know.
He's now gotten rid of food that he ate when he was 4. Everything.
That'll teach him to ever go to Walmart again.
No
This is like
doubt.
something out of a science fiction film, according to Kennedy, his attorney. Anal probing by government officials and public employees. If the officers in Hidalgo County and the city of Deming are seeking warrants for anal cavity searches based on how they're standing, and the warrant allows doctors at the Gila Hospital of Horrors to go in and do enemas and colonoscopies without consent, then anyone can be seized, and that's why the public needs to know about this.
Okay. Something needs to be pointed out to the police in that area.
Yeah.
Most times when you get stopped by the cops, your butt clenches up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get a little tight butt.
You get a little nervous. You get a little clinchy. You get a little, yes, sir. What I do? Yeah. Everybody does.
From now on, people, if you get pulled over, just fart. Let it out. Don't clench the butt. Let it out.
Oh, yeah.
You're nervous. Let one of them nervous ones rip.
Well, Mr. Eckert has now filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Deming, 3 Deming police officers, 3 Hidalgo County deputies, and the Gila Regional Medical Center. Oh, my Lord, I hope he wins every one of them.
Good for him.
As a police chief, what reassurances could you give people when they come through your town that they won't be violated or abused by your police officers? the police chief was asked. We follow the law in every aspect, and we follow policies and protocols that we have in place, according to Gigante, who is the police chief. Do you think those officers in this particular case did that, he was asked. Gigante declined to answer and referred Ramirez to his lawyer. Oh, my God.
The person that has come up with such a high-tech drug that it can't be found just by checking a little bit, he ain't shopping at Walmart.
No kidding. No kidding. And how many times do you have to check? When you're doing it this many times, you're doing it because somebody's getting their jollies, okay?
Yeah.
Pure and simple. Because you know there's nothing there.
There's no balloon. There's no nothing.
Yes, and if you x-ray somebody, you can see a foreign object.
Yeah.
Okay? You can see a foreign object. Besides their fingers. Oh, my Lord. I read that, and I just blew my mind. I was just like, I read it like 3 times. I'm like, they've got to be kidding me. The guy, all he did was fail to come to a complete stop at a stop sign.
His poor butt.
He wasn't in a shootout. He didn't rob anybody. He hadn't just mugged a little
got
old lady
robbed,
in the
though.
parking lot. Oh, he got robbed of his dignity, his comfort, his security, his feeling of, being able to go out in public and not be assaulted.
Yeah.
This is the biggest pile of baloney.
It is.
Are you kidding me? I'll tell you one thing. I go to Walmart. I'm coming to a complete stop when I leave that puppy. Oh, my God. I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that.
Just amazing.
You think that's amazing, too. I love science. I really do. But I got to tell you. What do they think with sometimes? Scientists found the oldest living creature on the face of the planet. Isn't that amazing? They found the oldest living creature on the face of the planet.
So far.
And they promptly killed it.
Oh, that was smart.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's why the aliens will never show up here.
I know. There's no intelligent life. There is a paucity of common sense running through this country. I can't stand it anymore. It's time to rewrite the record books. No, a new accurate dating shows that the world's oldest animal was 507 years old when it died in 2006. 507 years old. Good Lord.
Well, you could say it had a long life.
Well, that's more than 100 years older than previously thought. In autumn of 2006, a team of researchers went on an expedition to Iceland where they discovered something that made the headlines across the world. The discovery even made it into the Guinness Book of World Records. One of the Arctica islandica bivalve mollusks, also known as an ocean quahog. It's a big clam, okay? Mm-hmm. That the researchers picked up from the Icelandic seabed turned out to be around 405 years old, and thus the world's oldest animal. However, taking a closer look at the old mollusk using more refined methods, the researchers found the animal is actually 100 years older than they thought. Now, the way they found this out, apparently, if you want to check the age of a mollusk, a clam, an oyster, whatever, you cut it open, and there are growth rings in the hinge that holds the shell shut. Okay?
Oh.
And you count the growth rings just like a tree. It invariably kills the critter to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking to
not
myself,
a very good process.
They thought it was 405 years to start with. Why couldn't you leave it alone? Put it in a tank somewhere, take care of it, give it a little,
and
champagne
wait till
on
it died, and then checked.
Put a little champagne for its birthday and, call it good. I'd buy the old boy some strippers, for God's sake. She make it to 405 years old. Oh, my Lord. They found, and they knew at the time that it was probably the oldest animal on the face of the planet, and they killed it. Really? Really? Now, they used to...
well, it's probably got neighbors over... They're close to the same age. Those things live in beds.
I actually doubt it, though. Not that old. That is just so...
They live in beds. Come on.
Bizarrely old. Up until this point, they thought clams and whatnot lived to be about 100 years old. They're like parrots. They live to be like 100 or something, 110. But 405 years alone would have been enough to earn my respect, period. Thank you very much. I wouldn't have to saw the thing open, That's like, come here, Dennis, let me saw you open to count your growth rings to see how old you are. Really?
Take my word for it. You don't want to do that.
Let's not kill it to find out. No, I read that and I was just like, oh my God. Now, this is kind of something good scientists are doing, something very good. It's like we can't hit a happy medium, you know? It's good or bad, good or bad.
I just can't wait to go home today. So my other half can ask me, what did you talk about? Oh, we talked about anal probing and shellfish.
Old shellfish.
Yeah.
Old shellfish, yeah. But scientists from California-based medical research company called Organvo managed to create the world's smallest working human liver. They kept it alive in a lab for about 40 days. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but the liver itself was 0.5 millimeter deep and 4 millimeters wide, so it was pretty small, you know. And unlike its prequel, this would have lasted longer than 5 days. The liver consisted of 20 layers of hepatocyte cells, which were performing common liver functions, and 2 other types of liver cells doing other functions. The printer also created additional cells from the lining of a blood vessel. Thus, the liver cells were able to receive oxygen and nutrients. Usually, the human liver cells last 300 to 500 days. Those are the ones you've got, and they replace themselves.
Mm-hmm.
However, this one lasted only 40 days, which makes transplants out of the question for now. But scientists are hoping they can develop the liver to a stage where transplants will be possible for the 120,000 people who are waiting for a new liver. There's hope for you, Dennis. Hope.
That would be cool.
I'm telling you.
My liver's fine.
That's right. It's not the drinking that's going to get you. But I'm telling you, this is mind-boggling to me that this was done on a printer, a 3D printer.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Scientists have made noses and ears replacement parts for people on medical 3D printers. I've heard of work being done to try to replicate the human heart.
Now, see, I watched that show, Big Bang Theory,
right.
And I don't know what's coming. Some nerd's going to make a woman. I just know it. It's coming.
Well, they don't have to. Have you not paid attention? They have got. Have you seen these lifelike dolls?
I don't want to.
No. I'm serious. I'm deadly serious here.
Oh, I know they are.
I watched a whole program on it, and I have eclectic tastes. Okay, I'm interested in a variety of interesting things.
You watch smut?
No, I don't. But they have these dolls that men are in love with, and a couple of them have married their dolls.
Oh, I've seen that with mannequins and stuff.
Yeah, they're basically mannequins. Yeah, they're like $5,000 a pop.
Yep.
And they're very lifelike.
I have seen. I think I saw the same program.
It's on the Discovery Channel. I'm like, what are we discovering today, boys and girls?
Woo.
But they have relations with these dolls, these mannequins, and there is a man right now currently working to create a robotic one that is specifically designed and created to accommodate a man sexually. I'm like, what you do? Lay there going, take the trash out, take the trash out, take the trash out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well,
you need that. You don't need a doll. You need something else.
I'm telling you, men today.
Don't they have medication for it?
I hope they have medication for the men who need something like that. That's really sad. If you think about it, I watch these programs and I'm like, I look at these guys, and they're really not bad-looking men. They're not hideous, you know.
But they're challenged.
They're more introverted. You know, they're more shy than anything else. And
they have no game.
Well,
they can't go out and pick up women.
Aren't there people you hire that men can hire to teach them how to get game?
There are coaches out there.
I mean, how pathetic
dating
is
services, all sorts of stuff. But you know, some people just prefer the plastic. I don't know.
Oh, there's always eHarmony, right?
You know, you can laugh about eHarmony all you want to.
Yes.
I have DJ'd at least 2 wedding receptions of people that have met on eHarmony.
Really?
Yeah, that was amazing.
Well,
and especially I was at one. I mean, these people poured a lot of money into this wedding.
There was a time, not that long ago, when nobody would admit that they met their significant other on a dating site. But nowadays, I'm telling you, it's become more and more commonplace because people are busy and don't want to do the bar scene. Pardon me, I don't blame them. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour for the news. I'll be back with the second hour right after this. I'll see you in a few.
I guess he's an Xbox and I'm more Atari. But the way you play your game ain't fair. I picture the fool that falls in love with you.
And I'm Barbara Klein. Severe storms are sweeping through the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes. At least 3 people in central Illinois were killed today, while Brian Jaden and his family hid in their basement.
Tornado took the house down.
Washington, Illinois is reportedly hardest hit at this hour. Indiana Governor Mike Pence tells WRTV the system left destruction in its path across his state.
21 counties either reported a tornado touchdown or have damage.
Tens of thousands in Indiana, Wisconsin, and Missouri are without power. Strong winds and the potential for tornadoes are rolling east. The insurance commissioner for Washington, D.C., William White, says he's been fired. As NPR's Jim Zarroli reports, the ouster came right after White criticized the health insurance fix President Obama announced on Thursday.
William White says he was told he was fired by one of Mayor Vincent Gray's top deputies, who said the mayor wanted to go in a different direction. White says there was no mention of the Affordable Care Act, but the timing was hard to ignore. One day earlier, President Obama said he would allow insurance companies and regulators to reinstate individual health care policies that have been canceled because they didn't meet the Act's coverage standards. Commissioner White was one of the first insurance regulators to criticize the president's move, saying it undercut the purpose of the exchanges by creating exceptions that make it harder to operate, and he said that could lead to higher premiums. Jim Zarroli, NPR News.
In Libya, officials say the deputy chief of intelligence has been kidnapped. NPR's Leila Fadel reports Mustafa Na's abduction comes days after bloody clashes in the capital.
No one has claimed responsibility for the kidnapping so far, but the head of the Supreme Security Commission in Tripoli, a militia which falls under the Ministry of Interior, said on his Facebook page that Noor was abducted leaving the Tripoli airport with some of his companions. Hashim Bishir said in the post that whoever took Noor is trying to sow strife. Noor's kidnapping comes just 2 days after at least 42 people were killed and more than 450 wounded when militiamen from Misrata opened fire on largely unarmed protesters who were demanding that the militiamen be evicted from the capital. Clashes ensued. Observers say that Libya is in danger of descending into total anarchy. Leila Fadel, NPR News, Cairo.
Just days before negotiations on Iran's nuclear program resume Wednesday, Israel is conducting a lobbying campaign against a potential agreement between Iran and 6 world powers that would ease some economic sanctions if Iran curbs some of its nuclear activities. Netanyahu says he hopes to convince negotiators to keep economic sanctions in place, if not strengthen them. French President François Hollande agrees. He's in Israel and today promised to maintain pressure on Iran. This is NPR. A Russian passenger plane that took off from Moscow crashed as it was landing in the city of Kazan today. All 50 people on board were killed. The Boeing 737 was owned by a domestic Russian airline, which also operates several flights in Asia and Europe. In Britain, the head of the organization that sets standards for public health is calling for the age of sexual consent to be dropped from 16 to 15. The age of consent in the U.S. is 18. From London, Larry Miller reports UK lawmakers across the political spectrum say they're opposed to lowering the age.
Official figures suggest that a third of British teenagers have sex at 15 or younger. Faculty of Public Health President John Ashton argues that dropping the age of consent would make it easier for young teens to get sexual health advice from the National Health Service. Ashton told the BBC this would not open the door to even more risky sexual behavior, just the opposite.
Some of the countries that have lower ages of consent, the young people get involved in sex later, and they also have much lower teenage pregnancy rates.
Prime Minister David Cameron says the current age of consent protects children and there are no plans to change it. For NPR News, I'm Larry Miller in London.
At Florida's Cape Canaveral, the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft, or MAVEN, is on the launch pad, due to take off tomorrow at 1:28 p.m. Eastern Time. NASA says it will take 10 months for MAVEN to get into Mars orbit, putting it there in September of next year. The spacecraft is expected to circle the red planet for a year in Earth time, examining and sampling Mars' atmosphere. I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from PIM.
Cliff Cycle Center is an authorized full-service dealership that markets Kawasaki, KTM, Suzuki, Aprilia, Vespa, Piaggio, and Kimco scooters. At Cliff Cycle Center, you'll also find Kawasaki and Yamaha personal watercraft and Kawasaki, Polaris, and Suzuki all-terrain vehicles. At Cliff Cycle Center, they invite you to come on down and have a cup of coffee on them. They'd love to meet you at Cliff Cycle Center, 1200 Charleston Beach Road, across from the shipyard. Cliff Cycle Center.
Hey, St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties or 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
The Yacht Club Broiler is Silverdale's premier dining establishment and has been for over 20 years. Come experience the Yacht Club Broiler's famous happy hour with a casual and friendly atmosphere. Free Wi-Fi service is now available. The Yacht Club Broiler is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 9226 Bayshore Drive in Silverdale. The Yacht Club Broiler, Silverdale's premier dining establishment.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
And welcome back to hour number 2 of The Raw Nerve on Edge Media Source. You can call into the show at 253-617-1440. Now, ladies and gentlemen, back to your host, Susan C.
Thank you, Dennis. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hope you're having a great Sunday. As long as you're not in the Midwest, you probably are. But I'm telling you, they're really getting pounded. Really pounded. So if you know somebody out there, if you're out there, you know, don't go too far from shelter until probably about midday tomorrow. This is going to go on. This is going to go on, and it's sad. But I hope you all had a great week. It's been an interesting one, I'll tell you that. This just made me smile. Just, you know, every once in a while there's something happening, and you're just like, you know, aw. I love aw things. I really do. Did you hear about Bat Kid?
About what?
Bat Kid?
No.
Do you not watch television, you know, or the computer or news or radio?
Well, okay, here's something. You can't watch TV now unless you have cable.
True.
So that's out.
Yeah.
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Can't have internet unless you got cable.
True.
Pretty much.
True.
I don't have that.
It's called an AM/FM radio and a couple of AAA batteries. Just saying.
Just saying, there's not many stations that...
Pick up a paper.
Pick up a paper?
Keep up on what's going on in the world, dear. You have to know these things.
I am concentrating on what's going on in my world. That's enough to keep up on.
Well, just to fill you in.
Thanks.
It's a wonderful story. San Francisco.
Warm and fuzzy, great.
Warm and fuzzy. Grappling with the exploits of the Riddler and the Penguin will call upon, and they did, called upon pint-sized crusader Miles, a 5-year-old cancer-stricken boy, a.k.a. Bat Kid. What started out as Miles' wish to be a Batman has turned into an all-out extravaganza in San Francisco as word spread and thousands of people volunteered to pitch in and help transform the Bayside metropolis into Gotham City. It was amazing. Coordinated by the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the effort will include Miles' own Batmobile, a personal call from the police chief, Greg Sewer, for help, because, Commissioner Gordon, so the police chief, or whoever, always called and asked Batman to have help,
Right.
Put the thing up in the sky,
The
and
bat
they had the bat signal, the bat on a wall, a great big giant bat. It was amazing. I just loved it. It had the apprehension of the Riddler, and then a flash mob involving hundreds of people in Union Square, alerting Batkid to the fact that the Penguin had kidnapped Lucille, the San Francisco Giants mascot. Now, he then chased the Penguin around AT&T Park, rescuing Lucille, yay, and earning the key to the city during a presentation at City Hall, which was chocolate. I'm sure he was happy. All of these exploits were kicked off by a live television news bulletin carried by KGO-TV and covered by the Gotham City Chronicle, 1,000 copies of which were printed by the San Francisco Chronicle on Friday. The top A1 story penned by, who else? Clark Kent. How wonderful. Clark Kent wrote the story of what was going on. Now, the day's feat was a tall order, even for the mightiest superhero, let alone a 5-year-old who's been battling acute lymphoblastic leukemia since he was 20 months old. Miles' cancer is in remission, and with the last of his chemotherapy in June, he wanted to be Batman. So they made him Batman, or Bat Kid. The organization began making plans before long. Thousands of volunteers had signed up to cheer him on. I'm telling you, it was the most amazing thing to watch. It really did snowball. It started off the Make-A-Wish Foundation trying to get this little kid, a bat day. And all of a sudden, if you saw this on TV, it was amazing. There were huge crowds. There was a man dressed up in a pretty authentic Batman costume. So he was Batman with his sidekick Bat Kid. And they were running around, and there was a damsel in distress who the Riddler tied to a bomb, and Bat Kid had to go in and save the day. It was amazing. It was amazing. It just made me go, oh, that's so cute. He was one happy little camper.
Oh, I bet.
I'm so glad they got away from the only kids that Make-A-Wish Foundation did things for were kids who were terminal.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got to the kids who putting up the hard fight,
Right.
Little kids shouldn't have to deal with grown-up issues like that. Give them a break.
Hey, that's a tough one.
I love it. Then on the other hand, that's how they treat kids in New Mexico or San Francisco. Then you got how they treat kids in New Mexico. New Mexico is featuring prominently today. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
They have issues in New Mexico, I'm thinking. Out of Taos, New Mexico, I saw the film on this today. I saw the video. It blew me away. A police officer's dashboard camera captured a dangerous traffic stop in New Mexico. Now, the driver took off as she was being ticketed for driving 71 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone. Officers then opened fire on her minivan with her 5 kids inside. They knew these children were in the van. They knew it, okay? Now, Oriana Farrell and a state police officer are seen arguing over a ticket just south of Taos. But as the cop walks off, Farrell does the opposite, pulling away instead, so he pulls her over again. She got in her car and took off. He pulled her over again. Now, the officer isn't too happy, yelling, "Get out of the vehicle right now." The video shows the officer trying to pull her out of while the 5 kids inside are screaming. Her 14-year-old son then gets out, but thinks again when the officer pulls his taser. The struggle continues. "Look, I'm going to ask you one more time to get out of the vehicle, and then I'm going to pull you out, okay?" the officer said. "You're already facing evading charges. You ran away from me." She said, "Sir, I pulled back over. I didn't run away. You see my children? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just trying to take them to the Rio Grande." Finally, Farrell agrees to get out and talk, but the conversation doesn't last long. Farrell and the cop struggle as she tries to get back in the van again. Now, while that happens, the 14-year-old gets out of the van, and this time he rushes the officer, trying to defend his mom. After a short tussle, the boy runs back into the minivan. The officer tries to get him out while the backup arrives. Farrell starts to drive off while another officer fires at the minivan, full of kids as young as 6 years old. She then takes him on a 4-minute high-speed chase into Taos, cutting into the wrong-way traffic, before being eventually pulling over and giving up in front of a hotel. She was charged with 5 counts of abuse of a child, aggravated fleeing an officer, resisting an officer, reckless driving, and possession of drug paraphernalia. Her 14-year-old son was charged with battery of an officer. The family is reportedly from Tennessee, but taking a road trip through New Mexico. Police say both officers are under investigation. Okay, that's the story. I saw this. I watched this video today. Okay? The woman was a total nutcase. Hands down. I do not argue this. The woman would not get out of the car when they asked her to. When they finally did get her out of the car, she ran back, jumped in the van, and took off again. All things that we all know are unacceptable to most police officers. They frown on this kind of behavior. When they tell you to pull over, they want you to pull over. When they tell you to get out, they want you to get out. Not then get back in and take off again. Okay. She's an idiot. She is a moron of such a high caliber, I don't think there's a word for it, because she did all this with her 5 children in the van.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another recipient for this week's Parent of the Week.
Oh, yeah, they could share it. They could share it. So she was a moron. I give you this. She had drug paraphernalia. Maybe she was stoned. I don't know. I do not blame her 14-year-old kid, because he's 14. Kind of like the kid they fried in South Carolina.
He's going to protect mom.
He's scared for his mom. He gets out and he's trying, and I'm sure the kid was totally conflicted. You know, what do I do? That's a cop, but that's my mom, you know?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be so fast to throw the book at the kid. Okay. But.
And we're sorry your mom was in that case.
As blazingly moronic as this woman was, she did not at any time appear to be armed. She did not at any time threaten the officers. She did not at any time try to hit one of the officers with her car or something like that. I don't see where the officers were warranted to use deadly force against her to get her to stop. You're not going to convince me that someone down the road couldn't have got her to pull over with, you know, with the stop strips or whatever that they use, or any of the God knows how many methods they have to get cars to stop. You cannot convince me from what I saw with my own eyes on that video, and I heard, you cannot convince me there was any justification to start shooting at that damn van when those police officers knew those children were in there. None. Now, I don't know. Maybe if the 6-year-old had pointed an AK-47 out the back window, I don't know. The fact of the matter is, they didn't. You've got 5 kids, and they're screaming already, flipping out because of this whole incident going on, which was a mom's fault. I'll give her that. I'll give you that. That was a mom's fault. But they're already scared out of their minds with all this going on. And then to start shooting at them? Wait, do you think I'm just going to shoot the tires out? Right.
Yeah, and we'll cause the vehicle to roll and everybody in the car dies. That's smart.
Even if he managed, come on, even if he was trying to shoot the tires. We've seen cops shoot at cars. They can't hit the broadside of a barn.
No, they don't have enough video game experience.
Yeah. They can't hit the broadside of the barn, and the bottom line is they probably go through the back of the van, which is, I'm pretty sure, not bulletproof, and kills a couple of kids. Now,
sure.
how awful do you suppose that cop would have felt if he had actually managed to hit the van and kill a couple of kids?
And then he would have got off by, I don't know.
Well, he would have got off if he was in Kitsap County. We saw that, didn't we? Yes, we did.
Yes.
We saw that. I'm not pointing fingers. Yes, I am. Actually, I am.
Point a whole handful of them.
I've got 10 of them. See a point. Kitsap County, bad. Unless, don't get stopped for drunk driving in Kitsap County unless you're a prosecutor. Everybody knows
That's
this.
right.
Or at least a prosecutor, judge, something like that. You'd get away. Okay. Now, I read a lot. I read a lot of things, well, because of my job. And because I'm a basically curious person. And I read a man named Timothy Egan. He writes for the New York Times. He wrote an editorial that I love. I absolutely love it. It's about the whole Boeing fiasco. It's all the things I've been screaming and hollering about and saying, are you out of your mind? Are you kidding? This is what he writes. This is how the middle class dies. Not with a bang, but with a forced squeeze. After a global corporation posts record profits, it asks a state that has long nurtured its growth for the nation's biggest single tax break, and then tells the people who make its products that their pension plan will be frozen, their benefits will be slashed, their pay raises meager. Take it or we leave, and everyone caves. Well, almost everyone. All went according to script as the Boeing company showed what to expect in a grim future for a diminished class, the vanishing American factory worker. The threats were issued, the tax giveaways approved, the political leaders warned of the need to buckle to Boeing. This didn't happen in a broken down town with a broken industrial heart. It took place in one of the most prosperous metropolitan areas of the planet, Seattle. Home to Starbucks, Costco, Microsoft, Nordstrom's, and Amazon.com, which is on its way to become the world's top largest retailer. But then came the final item, a vote of the people who actually assemble the planes. By a 2-1 margin on last Wednesday, the machinist of Puget Sound told Boeing to stuff it. With this act of economic suicide, the state could lose up to 56,000 jobs on the new 777X plane. Cue your metaphor. The Alamo, Custer's Last Stand, Braveheart, whatever. The events of the last few days shows the utter bankruptcy of the economic policy prescriptions offered by both political parties. You want tax breaks and deregulation? The Republican mantra? The $8.7 billion granted Boeing this week is the largest single state tax giveaway in the nation's history. $8.7 billion in tax breaks. Yeah, it wasn't enough. What Boeing wants is very simple. To pay the people who make its airplanes as little as money as it can get away with. It needs to do this, we're told, to stay competitive. It has all the leverage because enough states and countries are willing to give it everything it asks for. Who wouldn't want a gleaming factory stuffed with jet assemblers, a payroll guaranteed for a generation? Boeing is on a roll. Its stock at a record high despite a troubled rollout of its 787 Dreamliner, and the pay of its CEO boosted 20% to a package totaling $27.5 million last year. $27.5 million a year. It is not impelled, as the auto industry was 5 years ago, in the midst of bailouts and cutbacks. Boeing could afford to be generous, or at least not onerous. But it's easier to play this state against state in the race to the bottom. What Boeing's riveters, line assemblers, and welders want is a thimble of respect. People have been building flying machines in this region since young Bill Boeing rolled seaplanes out of a barn nearly 100 years ago. The machinist didn't ask for hefty pay raises or new benefits as a condition to keep the much-promoted 777X production in this region. They just wanted to preserve what they had. Jobs that could pay upwards to $80,000 a year with a guaranteed pension. I'm tired of being slapped in the face, said John Gilman, who has worked at Boeing for nearly 40 years. Building airplanes, it takes years of training and skill. The people who run this company used to understand that, but now it's run by bean counters and lawyers. Gilman was among the thousands of factory workers voting on Boeing's take it or we leave proposal last Wednesday. The anger was palpable. The president of the local machinist union had called the proposal, quote, a piece of crap. Others referred to it as, quote, the Walmartization of aerospace, unquote. As they voted, the vultures circled. Among them, Governor Rick Perry of Texas, who tweeted last week that his low-tax, low-wage state was ready to help Boeing. One of the more tedious limits of our day is the bromide that we don't make things anymore in the United States. In fact, we make plenty of things, including world-class airplanes, but the question is whether we can still pay the people who make them a decent wage. Perhaps not. In the wake of the machinist rebellion, Boeing is likely to move. We're left with no choice but to open the process competitively and pursue all options for the 777X. This is according to Boeing's Commercial Airplanes CEO Ray Conner after the vote. So off to Texas, where 1 in 4 people have no health care, or South Carolina, where the compliant workforce would never think of putting up a fight. And who can blame Boeing? After all, pensions are a thing of the past, aren't they? Wages and household income across the country, they've not risen in nearly 15 years. This is supposed to be the age of the gig economy. Every worker an entrepreneur. But it hasn't translated to a fix of the greatest economic crisis of our times, how to preserve a declining middle class. The distilled wisdom on this subject says education, elevating minds, skills, and critical thinking to match tomorrow's economy is a way forward. And everyone in this tomorrow economy state seems to agree, except look at what happened here. a parable for troubled times. The state agreed to subsidize Boeing to the tune of $500 million a year over 16 years. That's twice what the state gives to the University of Washington, the region's flagship college. Long an elevator to the middle class. Maybe the university should threaten to leave town. That's brilliant. I love that. When this was going on, I was very angry by the whole thing. Excuse me. I said it was extortion. Pure and simple, and that's all it is. The state now is looking into having, I'm trying to remember what it's called off the top of my head. Basically, it's where you don't have to join a union to work at a lot of jobs like this. Boeing and corporations like it hate unions. A lot of people hate unions, which is really counterintuitive and counterproductive. Unions, you can say good things and bad things about. Lord knows people have over the years. But unions are the reason you work 5 days a week and get 2 days off, generally speaking. Unions are the reasons why if you get hurt on the job, you don't necessarily just lose your job. Unions are the reason why if you have a dangerous job, every and all safety measures possible will be taken. Because all these things, all these improvements cost companies money. Money. Bottom line. And they don't want to spend it any more than they have to. I've said it before, it's very true. Corporations are not happy anymore with making a decent profit. It has to be an obscene profit, or nobody's happy. Then it's how are we going to go to the board and tell them we didn't make obscene profits this year, and the shareholders they'll kick me out and get a new CEO. Big whoop. Have you seen the stock market? It has been setting records this year. Records. Zoop, 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 zoop. And the stock market is a very good indicator of how the economy goes. And it's been setting records all year long. What does that tell you? They're making the money. They're making the money. They're not spending it where they need to. Personally, I'm tired. I'm tired of the extortion. I don't care if it's Boeing doing the extortion or the school districts that wait until a week before school is going to start again saying we have to have this levy, and if it's not passed, we're going to go on strike and effectively hold our children hostage. And no, I do not blame the teachers for this. God help teachers. I blame the school districts for it. The wasted money, hand over fist, left and right, that could go into hiring more teachers, paying them more, like God knows they need. Not having, 47,000 children and one teacher. But no, nobody wants to take a hard look at themselves and see where we can improve ourselves. And I'm tired of economic blackmail. So Boeing is threatening to take their job, this 777X, to Texas or South Carolina, or I think Utah has an interest in it, and so does a plant in California. Who knows? What are they going to do? They're going to pay the workers minimum wage? Do you want to fly in an airplane that was put together by minimum wage workers? That's like the space shuttle was built by the lowest bidder.
Yeah.
Think about it.
And then people, upset when one blew up.
Well, everyone was upset. I'm kind of surprised the people were surprised when one blew up.
Yeah, you got things with, a couple million moving parts that was put together by the lowest bidder.
Absolutely.
There's a reason we don't have AM stereo,
Yeah.
It went to the lowest bidder.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I mean, seriously, corporations are screwing the little guy, and it's true. The middle class is disappearing. And this country was, I guarantee you, built on the backs of the middle class. The middle class is the one, historically, that does the actual work, that produces the actual product, that pays the actual tax, that keeps the country running. The middle class are the ones who see to it the lower classes are taken care of. To some degree, we take care of them. They're also the ones that allow, not willingly, but we don't have much choice in the matter, to allow the rich class, the upper class, to skate along on their tax breaks and loopholes. And politicians. We can't do without the middle class. This country cannot afford to lose the middle class. And the middle class is disappearing every single year more and more. And this is a bad thing. Very bad. So, to Boeing, I'm sorry. I feel for all the people whose jobs are dependent on Boeing here, and the people who might lose their jobs, and the businesses are going to hit a hardship trying to do without the money. But if you're going to act like that, don't let the doorknob hit you. We'll be back right after this.
If I am not alone, still I won't stand aside. What have I become? A victim of a foolish pride.
St. Paul, the voice of reason here. Wanted to send a quick shout out to our friends at Pacific Northwest Artisans. They're a custom concrete and design fabrication company. They can do all of your concrete needs. They can do pathways, walkways, driveways, you name it. You need a new foundation, you're going to do an add-on, give them a call, 731-9812 or 649-0987. Again, that's 731-9812 or 649-0987. Pacific Northwest Artisans, all of your concrete needs.
Make a difference in your community and volunteer at Kitsap Humane Society. We have opportunities for everyone and need help in all areas of the shelter. You can clean, feed, and help socialize animals, or answer phones, greet customers, and help run special events and fundraisers. KHS volunteers also lead programs including our foster program, canine training, and animal-assisted therapy. If you are interested in volunteering at Kitsap Humane Society, visit our website at kitsap-humane.org.
I'm Elaine Terso with Elaine Terso Photography. I've partnered with Ish Vintage Clothing, the Oxford Suites, and Parties by a Perfect Place to create our unique boudoir, glam, and pinup parties, which is perfect for a girls' night out or bachelorette parties. You choose your theme, get your hair and makeup done, play dress up for the evening, and then receive an accordion booklet of your photos, plus an 8x10 of your favorite photo. For parties for 7 or more, the hostess is free. For more information about our unique parties, visit my website, ElaineTersophotography.com.
The Yacht Club Broiler is Silverdale's premier dining establishment and has been for over 20 years. Come experience the Yacht Club Broiler's famous happy hour with a casual and friendly atmosphere. Free Wi-Fi service is now available. The Yacht Club Broiler is open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner at 9226 Bayshore Drive in Silverdale. The Yacht Club Broiler, Silverdale's premier dining establishment.
As Kitsap County's largest maintenance provider, Team Innovative in Paulsbo provides commercial and residential maintenance to hundreds of millions of dollars of local real estate. With services including parking lot maintenance and street cleaning to landscape and design, Team Innovative is committed to using a green approach and following a strong environmental conscience. Team Innovative Services, 697-6858, or visit them online at getinnovative.net. Team Innovative Services, get serious, get innovative.
Heather Madden, former machinist, wins success as a skilled professional rock star.
No more working dusty old machine shops for me. Being the boss of my own professional rock band has improved my life in every way, and I owe it all to the cool gear at Kitsap Music.
What do you want? Substantial spare time? Groupies? Leather pants? Use only certified cool products from Kitsap Music.
And it's the final half hour of the Raw Nerve on Edge Media Source. You can still call into the show as soon as I figure stuff out here at 253-617-1440. And I guess now we can go back to your host, Susan C. I'm having problems.
You know, darling, I love you, but sometimes I worry. I worry about you a lot.
I worry too.
Yeah.
And I play with electronics
I worry
for a
about
living.
You. I worry about you a lot, Evie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Now, we're going to take a trip into the dark side here. I was going to talk about it. Yeah. I was going to talk about it last week, but I decided no, I'd hold off because it was Veterans Day. And I am a hugely patriotic person. Anybody who watches this show knows this. But I'm telling you, when there's a wrong, and it needs to be righted, period. I don't care who you are, who you stand with, or what your group or organization. It needs to be fixed. New data shows that reports of sexual assaults within the U.S. Armed Forces have spiked dramatically, rising an unprecedented 46% during the last fiscal year. Almost 50% spike. This is according to the Pentagon. Now, there were 3,553 sexual assaults complaints from July of 2012 to June of 2013, a sharp uptick from 2,434 reports during the same reporting period the previous year. Now, the reports of sexual assault, which ranged from unwanted touching and groping to penetration, increased in all four branches of the Armed Forces and the National Guard, according to the Department of Defense. While statistics for the full fiscal year are not yet available, the Defense Department received more reports of sexual assaults in the first 3 quarters of fiscal year 2013 than in the entire fiscal year of 2012. The new data came as part of a 2-day public meeting of an independent panel probing reports of an epidemic of sexual assaults on the military, according to the Wire Service. Now, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, a Democrat from New York, who spearheaded calls for a change and draw national attention to the issue, is widely expected to press her colleagues to attach her attach her measure as an amendment to the yearly defense policy bill. Now, Gillibrand on Wednesday, that's a couple of weeks ago now, was present at an emotional news conference along with Ariana Clay, who says she was gang raped at the barracks in August 2010, as well as a retired military member of Victims Advocates and bipartisan group of senators who supported her legislation. Now, Gillibrand said this. She said, sexual assault in the military is not new. It has been allowed to fester in the shadows for far too long. She added, what we really have today is zero accountability. There is no accountability because the trust that any justice possible has been irreparably broken under the current system where commanders hold all the cards as to whether a case will move forward or not. At the news conference, Ben Clay, Ariana's husband, delivered a gut-wrenching statement in which he recounted his wife's horrific experience and strongly condemned the military justice system. I read her commander's conclusions in writing, he said, that she, Ariana, deserved ill treatment for wearing running shorts and makeup. So her commander said that she deserved being gang raped because she wore running shorts and makeup. She was asking for it. Yeah.
What an idiot.
He said this as Senator Rand Paul, a Republican from Kentucky, stood to his left, shaking his head in dismay. I read the opinion of the command-appointed investigator who compared rape to prostitution or marrying a rich man. As for the assault trial, it put Ariana through 15 hours of degrading testimony after a year of retaliation and intimidation. The closing statement of that trial was a Marine officer reading the definition of the word. It's a 4-letter word, starts with C. I will not use it.
Great.
Slut and whore. So he stood there and read the definition of these words at the closing argument, the closing statement of that trial. That, according to her husband. He added that when he arrived to testify, he was seated near one of the rapists who was granted immunity so he could testify in his own defense. Really. As he praised his wife for enduring miserable treatment, Ben broke down crying while Gillibrand and Paul appeared to fight back tears. In her statement, Ariana Clay, visibly flanked by visibly moved Gillibrand and Paul, described a painful and humiliating experience under the military justice system. She said it is impossible to expect justice in a legal system run primarily by commanders with no legitimate legal training. Later added that she didn't see herself as a victim or survivor, but as a leader and an advocate for change. The legislation on the table would eliminate commanders from the process of judging whether serious crimes, including cases of sexual assaults, go to trial, according to the AP. It would hand decision-making authority to experienced trial lawyers who would have credentials as prosecutors and hold the rank of colonel or higher. Wow. What an unreasonable request. I know for a fact, now I'm an Army brat myself. My father did 4 years in the Navy, or in the Army, and then turned around. I'm a Navy brat. I said it wrong. He did 4 years in the Army, turned around and did 30 years in the Navy. At one point when I was, 17 or somewhere around there, I talked about joining the military. He was horrified. He said, absolutely not. I said, why not? And he said, are you kidding me? He says, women have no protection in the military. Any military. None. Now, at the time, being a rebellious teenager, I thought he was just saying no because, well, he didn't want me to join the military. I didn't believe him. You know what? I do now. I believe him. And the Senate this week is set to consider the bill that will require dishonorable discharge or dismissal for any individual convicted of sexual assault. What a thought. A dishonorable discharge for raping someone. How unreasonable. Senator Gillibrand has secured public support from nearly half the Senate, but not enough votes for her proposal to give victims of rape and sexual assault in the military an independent route outside the chain of command for prosecuting attackers. Gillibrand's solution for a problem the military calls an epidemic appears to have stalled in the face of united opposition from the Pentagon's top echelon and its allies in Congress, including 2 female senators who are former prosecutors. Opponents of the proposal by Gillibrand, a Democrat of New York, insist that commanders, not an outside military lawyer, must be accountable for meting out justice. Personally, I'm all for that if they have proven they were capable of doing that before. They have proven they are incapable of doing such duty. Repeatedly. Even so, major changes are coming for a decades-old military system just a few months after several high-profile cases infuriated Republicans and Democrats. In a rapid chain of events by Washington standards, sexual assault in the military is not new, but it has been allowed to fester. The Senate this week is set to consider an annual defense policy bill that would strip commanders of their ability to overturn jury convictions, require dishonorable discharge or dismissal for any individual convicted of sexual assault, and establish a civilian review when a decision is made not to prosecute a case. Now, understand what this says. As it stands right now, if a military member is tried in a public court, or military court for that case, for that matter, as this is stated, and they are found guilty of raping a woman in the military, the commander has the ability to overturn that jury decision. To just say, wipe it away, it didn't happen, come on back here, boys will be boys, I'm sure he's sorry. Yeah. And I got to tell you, you can say that I'm being, flippant and I'm being disrespectful. But the fact of the matter is, this has been proven time and time and time and time again. Even the military admits that it is an epidemic issue in all branches. We're talking the Department of Defense with $500 million every year budget. That's a lot of money. Even by today's standards, that's a lot of money. And you're telling me that they can't take some of that money and put it into programs to see to it that women who have every right to want to serve their country as any man, they're stepping forward in Afghanistan and war areas. They're being killed right along with the men and wounded and left severely injured, just like the men. And you're going to tell me you're going to leave them on the side of the road for rape? For molestation? No. No. This bill that she's promoting would provide a special counsel for victims and eliminate the statute of limitations, because a lot of these accounts happen somewhere else and they don't get reported till they come back because the commander is all. Now, her solution has divided the Senate, splitting Republicans and Democrats. What a shock. Men and women, even former attorneys generals, into unusual coalitions. The lobbying has been fierce with dueling data, testimonials, and news conferences with victims. Opponents invited Marine Corps Brigadier General Loretta Reynolds to the closed-door Republican caucus last week. Yeah. Even Senator Ted Cruz supports Gillibrand's measure. Yeah. Rand Paul, along with 16 of the Senate's 20 women. What kills me is that she says she's privately received backing from more than 50 senators, but the report remains short of the filibuster-proof 60 votes that likely will be needed for her amendment to make it to the defense bill. To secure more votes, she said last week she was considering scaling back her plan to focus solely on sexual assault and rape instead of all serious crimes against women. That promoted complaints from her original backers that it would create pink courts. And Gillibrand said on ABC's This Week Sunday that she was reverting to her initial bill. That's not fair to say it will create pink courts. Because I guarantee you that if some male member of the military were assaulted, were injured, was sexually assaulted, it does happen, they wouldn't call it a blue court because he sought some sort of legal redress for it. Why then would they call it a pink court? Because a woman does.
Yeah, that's...
Women in the military, they're not like women in the military in the 1940s.
No.
They're not doing their nails.
Nope, not sitting behind desks.
No. They're out there. They're out there with the guys. And they're getting dirty, and they're doing without, and they're suffering in the environments that the guys are doing. I don't care if Tom Cruise says his job is as hard as a soldier in Afghanistan. Idiot, I can't believe he said that. The women are working just as hard. They're putting out just as much as the men. How then can we not back them up and show them support and say this is going to stop? You can feel safe when you close your eyes in your bunk at night from your own guys. No. Now that the Pentagon came out and said that 3,553 sexual assault complaints were received from October 12th, 2012 through June. But Gillibrand offers a different figure. She says 26,000. That was the Pentagon's estimate of the number of military members who may have been sexually assaulted last year, based on an anonymous survey of military personnel. Thousands of victims were unwilling to come forward despite new oversight and assistance programs aimed at curbing the crimes because they get retaliation. Their lives are made a living hell by their commands because the commands don't want to see the male member pulled from duty because he is government property and he is an asset that the military wants much more over her. Yes, that attitude still exists. Yeah. It just boggles my brain. It absolutely boggles my brain. They didn't come forward and report these because they didn't trust their own chain of command. They didn't think anything would be done in their cases. The second reason they didn't report was because they feared or had witnessed retaliation. The command climate failed those victims. Now, pushing back against her proposal, General Ray Odierno, Chief of Staff of the Army, said last week that adopting her plan would be a big mistake, and it would cost an estimated $113 million a year, including salaries for about 600 attorneys and support staff. Isn't this what always happens? Every time anybody, whether it's in the Congress or the Senate or the military, whatever, are pushing against a proposal, their first always retaliation comment against it is, we can't afford it. This is going to cost billions and trillions of dollars to do this. We can't do it. Bullcrap. It's not going to cost that much money. And they have, I said earlier that the Pentagon had a fiscal year budget of more than $500 million. I misspoke. It is $500 billion every year. The Pentagon has $500 billion. And $1 billion is $1 million.
And they can't work with it.
And they can't do anything about this. It would cost too much. We'll build a few less scuds. Why don't you?
So we're going to spend our $5 billion, and then we'll work on
$500
billion.
$500 billion.
So we'll just let these people, we won't take care of the problem, And then, they could go pay for their own therapy that they're going to need after all this bull crap.
Oh, you can't even get that through the VA anymore. I mean,
No, you got to pay for that yourself. It's that you can't afford it,
Yeah.
We're just going to set a few more disturbed people loose into the world.
This is hands down the most egregious example I've seen, maybe I've ever seen, of the military failing its own people. And there is still a mentality out there that, well, bottom line, women don't belong in the military. Well, maybe, secretaries and nurses, Yeah. And I think a lot of people, these old-time commanders and people that are the ones that are overturning these convictions and basically saying boys will be boys, wink, wink, no big deal. These are the same ones that were saying that women have no place in the military.
The good old boys club doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore.
if you want to play with the big
boy,
if you want to play with the big boys, you take your chances.
that is, it's just so outdated.
It is.
My own father, he's retired military.
Mhm.
I grew up a military background. I've been on military bases my whole life. And he never, thought that way or talked that way. And he served in Vietnam and all that, and he saw the things that went on there. And he is, your comrades in the military, whatever you want to call them, your fellow soldiers. They're your fellow soldier no matter what they are.
Brothers in arms, yep.
There you go.
Yep. There's no room for sisters in there, huh?
No, it needs to be,
Yeah. Well, bolstering their case, McCaskill, Ayotte, and Fisher compiled additional changes that the Senate is expected to approve. They included barring defendants from using the good military character defense. Well, Your Honor, he never killed nobody before. So if he never killed nobody before, why would you think he'd killed somebody now? Yeah. What? No. They also allows sexual assault victims to challenge a discharge or separation from the service and extending the new protections to the military service academies. The girls in the academies, they get it too. And they don't complain. They don't report it and all because most of them have worked their butts off since they were early teens to get the grades, to get the backing, to get the recommendation to be able to attend the academy. You don't just decide, well, I'm going to go to West Point.
No.
You don't get to.
That is such a process they have to go through to get to those.
And you have to be recommended by someone in Congress. You have to get congressional backing, basically. Congressional backing. So if you jump through all the hoops that you have to jump through to get into one of these academies, you're going to think long and hard before you think about upsetting the apple cart. You're just trying to get through, do your time, get your degree. Yeah. So basically what I think they've done is they put women in a position of you don't want to rock the apple cart. You don't want to cause waves. You don't want to, be in a position to be the whistleblower here because things will be very bad for you if you do this. So women out there with the rifles, out there with the, IEDs, the convoys, they keep their mouth shut. They're doing the same work under the same conditions. But they have to keep their mouth shut. And I think that is a national sin. And I think if they don't get this fixed, they're going to see a huge drop in women joining, which a lot of these good old boys would probably think was a great thing. Let's get them to stop signing up, joining up. Takes care of the problem, doesn't it? Yeah.
It's sad.
It is. It's very sad. It absolutely breaks my heart. And I'm like, a lot of these commanders, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these commanders would not remotely say this was all right. I'm not saying it's across the board, it's everybody. But there are enough that something's just got to be done. Well, I'll tell you what. I got to worry about so much stuff. I wonder about stuff. I wonder about what people are saying. I wonder about what people are doing. I wonder why. That's probably the biggest thing I do in my life is wonder why. Why would somebody do that? Why would the military not, step up and do the right thing? Why would they not want to? It's hard to say. But I'll tell you, it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder a lot. This is the greatest country on the face of the planet. I've said this a million times. I actually, truly, honestly believe this. I think we have one of the incredibly best military, the best trained, the best equipped, the best capable military on the face of the planet. Now, when I think of the military, it might be something different than what you think of when you think of the military, because I think of men and women. I think of women out there doing it too, and not behind typewriters. Or nowadays, computers. Excuse me. No. Women are doing the job. They're bringing the A game. They're showing that they can be counted on. They can be, an incredible asset to the men in the military. Remember in World War II, it came out that Japan had women in camps. Not necessarily willingly either. And their whole job was to keep up the morale of the Japanese soldier. I think our women in the military can do better than that. But that's what it smacks of to me. It really does. It makes me wonder, and it makes me go,
You have company coming.
Okay. I do absolutely want to make it clear that I do not think that this is something that happens everywhere you have military people, on every base, under every command. No, I don't believe that for a second. But I'll tell you one thing. I do think that the commands where this sort of behavior, this sort of activity is repugnant and absolutely unacceptable, they need to open their mouths. They need to put peer pressure, their own peer pressure, on their own comrades, their own other commanders of the same rank, that they go to the officers club and they have drinks and all this. They need to put peer pressure on them that this is not acceptable. This is not going to be, the good old club anymore, the good old boys club. This is not going to be swept under the rug, and this is not going to be just shined on like, business as usual. That, I think, is what's going to stop it. Congressional bills and orders and whatnot are one thing. They're a help. They really help. But I don't think it's going to stop until the mindset is changed of the people who are doing this, the commanders that are doing this, and that's only going to happen just like in high school. Just like in high school. You want to stop bullying? What the teachers do is great. What the community does is great to stop bullying. But what really stops it is peer pressure. The other kids in the school. The other commanders to whom this is an anathema, this is absolutely not acceptable, this is not going to happen, need to take these guys, these commanders, who in a lot of cases are absolutely fabulous commanders every other way. Militarily, handling troops, supply, backing them up, this is wonderful. But in this tiny little area, they're sadly lacking. Let's get the commanders and the brass to put peer pressure on these guys that this has to stop. And it has to stop now. It really does. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm coming up to the top of the hour here. I want you to be sure you stay tuned, because in the next hour, we have K-Dog, the Loose Cannon, and St. Paul, the Voice of Reason on Outlaw Radio Network. They're going to be here. They're always a fun bunch.
That's right.
There's something.
What's going on,
There's
Susan?
something.
How are you?
How you doing, darling? This is K-Dog, of course.
I don't normally jump in here on your show, but Dennis told me I'm supposed to come in here. You had
Yes, I
questions
asked.
for me, so
I want you to tell the folks what's coming up on the 30th and the 19th.
And the 14th.
14th,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So here's what's going on. Suquamish Championship Wrestling, otherwise known as SCW. we had a couple of their guys in 2 weeks ago, and then last week they Von Hess, who's their champion and one of the big guys behind the promotion, came down and basically gave us a challenge. Paul and I a challenge. Paul and I smack talked to each other a little bit, and they've got a big couple of events coming up that are to fundraise for the Suquamish Food Bank.
Right.
And so what they've essentially done is they've issued a challenge to us, Paul and I both. We're going to be up there on the 30th of November.
And I'm the guest ring announcer.
Your guest ring announcer is our very own DJ D. And do you go by that on this show, or are you just Dennis? Or
He's
what
Dennis D.
I'm just Dennis.
Bad Boy Dennis D.
Yeah. So you can push the break a minute if you need to for this.
All right.
Cross-promotional stuff. So what's going to happen is we're going to do an arm wrestling contest. Paul and I are. That's the first one. Whoever wins that gets to pick the partner for the tag match. They'll be on the 14th.
You're going to do a tag team?
Yeah. So here's what's going to happen. On the 30th, Paul and I will have an arm wrestling contest. I'm going to annihilate him. The winner of that gets to pick their partner. It's either Von Hess or it's one of two other guys whose names suddenly escape me. Von is kind of the good guy. Von's the baby face in the organization. Quite frankly, I want nothing to do with him. Honestly, I don't have any patience for the baby face guy. He is, and the other guy is undefeated, hasn't lost a match. I think I know who I'm going to side with.
And he's like 8 foot what?
It's so. Yeah, I think.
You remember his name?
Susan cover that. I don't remember
his name either. But I'm going to go with the guy who's never lost. It just kind of makes sense, doesn't it?
It's a thought.
Well, and I mean, K-Dog and myself both, big professional wrestling fans for years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then the other thing we're going to do is they're going to have a chop off. Now, for those who watch wrestling, Ric Flair does what's a chop. You know what the chop is, right?
It's the slap.
Basically, it's the you take the hand just like this and right across the chest, and he's going to do chops on me. He's going to do chops on Paul, and whoever gives in first loses, and the loser has to do whatever the stipulation is. We're going to decide that at a later date.
Okay, I have been debating. I have really, really, really been debating whether or not I wanted to go and watch this.
Of course you do.
I'm not a huge sports fan. The guys know this. I'm not huge on it.
You have to go. I need a ride.
I'll tell you. The more I hear about this, the more I think about it, I'm like, I want to see you two just mix it up.
Yeah. And then what's going to happen
I got to hit Paul once with a sword upside the head.
I do
remember
that. Was fun. You clocked him good, too.
That was fun. Yeah. And
then here's what's going to happen, and you can start the bump whenever you want. On the 14th of December, we will have the tag match up in Suquamish.
Now this is for charity.
They do these matches all the time. This event though is bring 2 cans of food for the food bank. You get in free. So they're going to be collecting food for the food banks, and it's one of the main event matches. There's 3 main event matches. It'll be me and my partner against Paul and his partner, and it'll be on the 14th in Suquamish. And it will be the first time that Paul or I step into a ring as professional wrestlers. And I will tell you
as wrestlers.
I will tell you right now, I will dominate his conservative bottom.
I think I just might have to see this.
And to that
I'm telling you.
I'll be the guest ring announcer for that too.
Yes, you will.
I just might have to see this. I'll see you next week.
Get my Michael Buffer on.
I'll see y'all next week. Be sure and stay tuned for Outlaw Radio Network. I'll see you then.
Well, love you, Susan. Love you, Dennis.
Yeah, you too.
In Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. In central and southern Illinois, the death toll has climbed to 5 after a strong series of tornadoes and heavy storms ripped across the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Alex Rusciano of member station WCBU reports Washington, Illinois is among the areas hardest hit.
Hundreds of people picked through the rubble of what remained of their homes in the town of about 15,000. The tornado destroyed entire blocks of homes. Resident Susan Newton lives next door to the Trails Edge neighborhood that was heavily damaged. She says the tornado demolished most of her street while she was at church.
We have neighbors that have lost their entire home, and last night we were at a dinner party at friends of ours, and their home is gone. Gone. There's nothing left.
Ambulances continued to race across